here on YourTV. I'm Jessica Kading. There have been 2 more cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the Halton region since yesterday, and 3 more probable cases, bringing the total number of people in Halton who have contracted COVID-19 to 573. 6 more people have fully recovered. There are currently 124 people in Halton with reported COVID-19 symptoms. An Oakville-based manufacturer is the first to receive money from the Ontario Together Fund. Xerox Technologies is being granted $850,000 in order to double their production of disinfectants and create jobs right here in our community. For more on this announcement, I was able to connect with Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, Vic Fedeli.
Well, Oakville certainly has captured the spirit of Ontario. When we put out the challenge, Ontario Together, and an Ontario Together Fund, it was to help make personal protective equipment for Ontario that we don't make. And Xerox Technologies was the absolute first one where we made an investment of $850,000, and they have a new assembly line being put together right now to make sanitized wipes. So this is just a great opportunity for a beautiful business to expand with making products that we desperately need in Ontario.
For other manufacturers out there watching who could benefit from the Ontario Together Fund, I asked the minister how a company can best stand out and be among the next businesses chosen for a grant of this kind.
Well, we still are looking for permanent manufacturing of personal protective equipment. So we've seen all of the great auto companies come forward, Ford making face shields, Honda, all of them. GM is now reopening in Oshawa to make face masks. Fiat Chrysler, Toyota, they've been great leaders. All of these 5 auto companies have been great. But what we really want are companies that will make these permanently now. Those companies are going to go back to making cars pretty soon. And we want companies to step up. They can go to ontario.ca/Ontario Together and make an application. And we're most interested in those types of things.
We also spoke with Mayor Rick Bennett this afternoon to talk about building services within the town of Halton Hills, and he also gets into more detail about a program that the town is working on to help local businesses.
One thing I can share with you is our building departments are, when somebody puts an application in, I have to go for 3-4 different agencies looking at it, within our building, within our town hall. But we've issued 87 building permits since the pandemic. So business is still moving, and so we're still getting business done. That's good news there. Our staff have been working on a plan, and we might be having a special council meeting next Wednesday to give what the plan is going to be, because we know we're looking at be a financial plan, because we have the federal government, the provincial government. They've all helped in some ways to pay for rents and for small landlords, but there's still some that fall right through the cracks. So we're hoping that we'll have a program to help those that don't qualify for either program.
The Burlington Fire Department has lifted the citywide open-air burning ban they issued just over a month ago. This means rural residents that have the appropriate permits can start to use their fire pits again, but the fire department does ask that unnecessary and recreational fires are still avoided. Milton Councillor Rick DiLorenzo is staying connected to residents by offering weekly Zoom calls to talk about anything. We spoke with him earlier today to talk more about it.
Every Saturday at 6 p.m., I'm doing a weekly social via Zoom for Milton residents to share news, information, socialize, talk about COVID-19 coping tips. A lot of us are at home right now, doing social distancing and not having a lot of opportunity to get out there and socialize because we can't. The last one, we were kind of talking about our kids, most of all. Parents talking about how they're doing with children who are in elementary school. Different schools, the Catholic and public boards have different things set up for school assignments. Some of them have Google Hangouts set up, and just talking the struggles we're getting, having our kids, not playing Fortnite all day, but actually doing their homework, especially with some parents who are working from home. And now you're working from home, Plus, you're trying to, during the day, get your kids to do some schoolwork and not just play video games. So some of it was just parenting tips. So if you go to my Counselor Rick DiLorenzo Facebook page, you should see under events, it's every Saturday at 6 p.m. You do have to RSVP. A lot of us right now feel very isolated and missing some of that interaction with adults. So just trying to have some more fun and some socialization in Milton.
1,330 students who are in need in Halton will now receive Loblaws grocery gift cards. This is all thanks to a grant given to Halton Food for Thought through federal government's Good Food Access Fund. For more information about Halton Food for Thought and the great work they do in our community, please visit haltonfoodforthought.com. Burlington's MPP Jane McKenna and her team have been answering phones from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday during this pandemic in an effort to be there for those in the community who have important questions. Now that spring has arrived and some restrictions are slowly being lifted, MPP McKenna says many are asking about taking a trip to their cottage or trailer.
We had calls today about people being, upset about going up to their cottage or up to their trailer park. And I tried to explain to everybody, obviously, that we're in uncharted waters, and I know that, we gradually are moving things back in. People have been phenomenal stewards for the last 8 weeks. But the reality is we don't want to go back to where we were, 2 months ago, so everything is shut down for the whole summer. So we want to be very mindful that it's a gradual start up again, and we want to be obviously listening, as we have all along, to the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Williams, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I say this over and over again. There's no playbook. We've never been in this situation before. I know people will say to me all the time, well, why don't we have the proper PPE? But the reality is this isn't SARS or C. difficile. This is worldwide, and this is every ministry in Ontario and Canada. This is everybody that's impacted by this pandemic. And so it's a very, very, very unique situation. And unfortunately, we're doing the best we can, but unfortunately we don't have the proper, we're just going day to day and hour to hour trying to figure things out.
And with Mother's Day fast approaching this weekend, MPP McKenna realizes firsthand how difficult it will be to maintain social distancing from our loved ones.
I'm a mother of 5, and I have 4 grandchildren, and it's very difficult, obviously, for everybody in these times. My 4th grandchild was born 4 weeks ago yesterday, and I still haven't met him. I've seen him through a window when I've dropped off food at her house, but we're all anxious to hug and kiss everybody and with our loved ones, and obviously there's people in long-term care homes that were not able to go see their mothers. We totally respect all that, but thank God for love and affection and, being a family and all caring for each other. Things are, as again I say, we're uncharted waters and unprecedented times, but love prevails all, right? So we're all just going to have a different time of Mother's Day this year, but there's nothing like Zoom and FaceTime. I've learned a lot about that.
As we continue to make progress in the fight against the spread of COVID-19, Oakville MP Stephen Crawford wanted to take a moment to thank you for all of your social distancing efforts over the past few weeks.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the people of Ontario for all their hard work and commitment. Clearly, what we're doing is working because the number of patients with COVID has been flatlining. It's not where it needs to be, but it has been going in a very positive direction. And, we are very fortunate at this point. We have not turned out like some countries in Europe, like Italy. And that's because of what the people of Ontario have done in social distancing. So I just want to thank the people of Ontario and wish everyone, I know this weekend is Mother's Day, so all the mothers out there, very happy Mother's Day.
Premier Doug Ford announced that they are looking to start non-COVID related care again in our province's hospitals. Working with the Chief Medical Officer in Health and Healthcare Partners, the plan is to start with the most urgent surgeries first, like cancer and cardiac procedures.
We're telling the hospitals to get ready. We're telling patients to get ready. And we're hopeful many of these scheduled surgeries can start soon. I know the delays have led to anxiety and stress, but I hope today can help ease some concerns. To those waiting, we're here for you. Help is on the way.
This does not mean that scheduled surgeries will start right away or that all hospitals will reopen for these procedures at the same time. Christine Elliott with more.
The timelines for when hospitals will resume surgeries and other procedures will vary as each hospital meets the criteria set out by Ontario Health. This includes the stability of COVID-19 cases, personal protective equipment and supply of medications, and adequate capacity of inpatient and intensive care beds, as well as doctors, nurses, and other personnel needed to perform the surgeries and procedures. These criteria will ensure that hospitals take a measured and responsible approach that allows for more life-saving surgeries while also preserving our continued ability to respond to COVID-19 outbreaks or surges.
Today marks the 75th anniversary of Victory in Europe, otherwise known as VE Day, when the Allied forces liberated Europe from the Nazis. Over 1 million Canadians served during World War II and 45,000 paid the ultimate sacrifice. Burlington MP Karina Gould encourages us all to take the time to reflect on this important milestone and the sacrifices that were made.
Well, today is the 75th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day and the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands. And so even though we can't, gather in person to commemorate these really important milestones in our country's history and in the world's history, we can all take a moment to reflect on the sacrifices and the service of our men and women in uniform during the Second World War who contributed to making sure of the Allied victory. And I also want to recognize that the Mondialization Committee here in Burlington was planning some commemorative events, and they were actually planning a trip to the Netherlands. And unfortunately, because of the current circumstance, they're unable to carry out those activities, but just want to recognize their leadership and all the work that they do all year long to recognize these really important milestones in our history and to thank them for their engagement. And so encouraging everyone to take a few moments today just to reflect on what the significance of today's anniversary means and to continue to be grateful for the freedom that we get to live in, even under these difficult circumstances.
I also spoke with MP Gould about virtual Parliament, which took place again yesterday, as it has been every Tuesday and Thursday over the past couple of weeks. Every member of Parliament across the country has been able to connect, and Burlington MP Karina Gould believes it's been going quite well with some really positive dialogue between the opposition members and the government. I asked her to elaborate on what was covered in the session yesterday.
Oh, yesterday there was everything from support for agriculture to support for students to support for seniors. We discussed additional testing and contact tracing capabilities within Canada for when we come out of, the isolation measures that we're in. We talked about support for employees and the rent subsidy. In 2 hours, you can cover a lot of ground. And I would say that, a good chunk of the issues that Canadians are facing on a daily basis were covered during the virtual Parliament yesterday.
I also asked about expectant mothers who were having difficulty with the CERB process and whether the issue has now been addressed.
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, Jessica, with regards to support for expecting mothers. There was a bit of a challenge with the CERB system that should be solved today. So for women who were expecting and applied for the CERB and disclosed that they were pregnant, they were put into the EI stream. That should not have been the case, and as of today, they should be back in the CERB stream. It should not impact on their EI eligibility or on their ability to use EI once they've given birth. So that should be resolved today. If for whatever reason you're an expectant mother and that hasn't been rectified, please do contact my office, and we will contact Service Canada on your behalf.
We do need to take a short break, but it is Mental Health Week, and we'll be right back with a resident willing to share his struggles with depression and offer his advice to others who are also struggling with their mental health. We'll be right back. You're still watching Halton News, and as we round out Mental Health Week, We had the opportunity to hear from a Burlington resident who talked about his mental health journey. Ryan Luke was diagnosed with depression and has gone through many ups and downs over the years. Melissa Candelaria spoke with Luke about his struggles and his advice for those who may be going through a rough time.
It's no secret, and you actually publicly call yourself a suicide attempt survivor. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so my mental health and addiction challenges were really sort of coming to a head just over 4 years ago, and I had sort of reached out for support, accessed some support, and then everything in my life just kept getting worse and worse, and I had ruined sort of relationships with family and friends, and I was having struggles at work, and I wasn't taking my medication properly, and I was my addiction challenges were sort of going through the roof, and I'd sort of given up all hope. And I thought it was, taking all sorts of prescription pills and alcohol that I really didn't want to be on this earth anymore. And that's a terrifying spot to be in, that your overall mental health and wellness can deteriorate to such a point and become so sick. But it also shows that you can spend time working on yourself and recovering and accessing professionals, and you can get back to where you need to be. So I've been through a whole heck of a lot in my life, but I'm glad and I'm grateful that I went through all those things, because it's made me the person that I am today. And it wasn't until I started talking to people about how much I was struggling and being vulnerable that I really started to grow as a person and as a human being. And I take pride in letting people know where I've been, and I'm extremely grateful to be here today.
Let's talk about the time period that we're in. It is COVID-19, social distancing restrictions. You know what it's like to feel alone and not be able to reach out. So at a time like this, in particular, it being Mental Health Week, what are some of the things that we should be, anybody out there, any resident in Halton really watching this, should be aware of, or what do you think we should do in order to make sure that we take care of our mental health basically during this time?
Yeah, mental health is challenging enough to sort of look after, and then given the COVID-19 sort of restrictions and how quickly everything's changed, I think what I found really helpful over the last 2 months or so is, number one, limiting social media, and really for me, focusing on day to day, not looking too far ahead.
If anybody's watching right now, listening to your story, who might be in the place that you were a few years ago, what's something that you can tell them, especially with the time that we're in, what's something that you can tell them to sort of help them get out of that mindset?
I would say, from the bottom of my heart, please, please, please do not sort of lose hope. Your current circumstances by no means need to be permanent. But it does take time. If you're struggling, you're not feeling your best, things aren't going the way you want them to go, try to be kind to yourself, access supports, and develop a plan that's going to work for you to help you improve your wellness. And every single person has a different plan, but sort of, taking ownership of that plan and knowing that it's not going to be perfect. And one of the things I heard when I was at Homewood Health Center in Guelph was progress, not perfection. So, put the effort in, celebrate your successes, the things you do well. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be that you had a productive day and you did more work than you normally do. You reached out to a friend. So try not to be so hard on yourself. And things can and will get better, but it definitely does take some time.
That was part of a larger conversation. You can watch the entire interview on our website, yourtv.tv. Taking a look now at our 5-day forecast. As we head into the weekend, you can see there's a 70% chance of snow flurries we're looking at for tomorrow. Not something we ever like to see in May, but it won't stay long. Cloudy skies on Sunday, which I'll remind everyone it's Mother's Day. Looking into next week, we'll have a mix of sun and clouds Monday through Wednesday, but Tuesday we are looking at a 40% chance of rain showers. The Milton Chamber of Commerce invites you to join them for their next virtual business forum on Wednesday, May 13th. The Honorable Vic Fideli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, who is also a lifelong entrepreneur, successful business person and philanthropist, will discuss the road to recovery Part 2. To register, please visit miltonchamber.com. Stocks rallied today with TSX closing up almost 1%. Let's take a look at how some of our local companies performed. Time for another short break. We'll be right back with an update from the Burlington Food Bank after this. You're watching Halton News, and I'm Jessica Kading. The Burlington Food Bank has recently seen a sharp increase in their milk supply. Find out why.
We just received a delivery from Feed Ontario, and especially from the dairy farmers of Ontario. We just want to thank you so much for supplying us with 75 cases of milk. Just incredible. We're able to not only use it here, but share it throughout the community with a couple of other agencies, Wellington Square and the Salvation Army, just making sure that those who are in need are getting fresh milk as well. We also wanted to wish all the moms out there, or the people who play sort of mom figure roles within families or wherever it might be, happy Mother's Day, and we hope that you have a nice weekend. And for those of you who are thinking of going to see your mom, make sure that you practice your physical distancing. So maybe just hit her front lawn, wave, make sure you talk for a little bit, and just happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
The province is offering free internet-based mental health programs that can be found online at ontario.ca/coronavirus. Visit the website to learn about all that's being offered to meet your unique needs, including online therapy. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for watching us here on Halton News tonight. We also invite you to follow us on social media at YourTV Halton on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Kading, and you can find more on yourtv.tv. Have a safe and happy weekend.